In this video, we will show you how to replace your front brake flex hose on this Honda Civic. This is part of the braking system and it's located behind your front wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. The first thing you are going to want to do is safely raise and support the front of your vehicle so the wheel is off the ground. I like to have the suspension hanging. Once you've done that, continue on to removing all 5 of your 19mm lug nuts, the hubcap assuming you have one, and then the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, we have a nice clear view of our front flex hose. Let's make our way down to the caliper. On the caliper, you're going to find a bleeder screw and typically a cover of some sort. We'll just pry that cover out of place, give it a quick inspection, and set it aside. You do want to reuse this. Use a 10mm to loosen up the bleeder screw. Be careful not to break it off in the caliper, otherwise you might have to replace the caliper. At this point, once you feel as though you have it open, you want to pay attention for fluid coming out of the bleeder screw. If there's no fluid coming out of here, you might have an issue with the caliper or the bleeder screw itself. Once you're sure you have fluid coming out of here, we also want to make our way up to that passenger compartment. Use a pry bar of some sort and press that brake pedal as far down to the floor as possible and leave it there. Use the pry bar between the brake pedal and the seat. Now we can close that bleeder screw. Move along to your 14mm headed Banjo bolt. That's the bolt that goes through the flex hose into the caliper. Keep in mind there could still be fluid in this area. Give the flex hose a wiggle and remove it from the caliper. Now in this area, typically you are going to find that you still have one of your gaskets mounted to the caliper. It's either going to be here, on the flex hose, or possibly fell into your collection bucket. Either way, you want to make sure that you know exactly where it is and you do not double gasket your brand new flex hose. While we're removing gaskets, you also want to double check that Banjo bolt. If it has a gasket on it, remove that. Inspect the Banjo bolt, make sure it's still in good condition, and set that aside. Now we can follow the flex hose to where it connects to the front strut. On this, you'll find that you have a 12mm headed bolt that holds this on. Go ahead and remove that, and remove the flex hose from the strut. Follow the flex hose up to where it connects to the bracket mounted to the body of the vehicle. In this area, you're going to be looking for this little fitting right here. Use some Penetrant. Spray it down. Once you've done that, use a 10mm to loosen this fitting until it's completely broken free from the flex hose. You want to be careful not to break that brake line, otherwise you will have to replace it. Now in this same area, you're going to find that you have a U-clip holding the flex hose to this bracket. For this clip, it has a small ridge. Break it free using a small pry bar. Once you have some movement there, you can use pliers and fully remove it. Give that a quick inspection, make sure it is still reusable. Now we can remove the flex hose. And there it is, friends. Now we'll clean and inspect our brake line. You want to make sure that the flared end here isn't damaged in any way. This one still looks good. All right, let's get ready to install that brand new front brake flex hose. Looking at the top of the flex hose where it goes through the bracket, you can tell that it has a circular area and a flat area. This flat area will be facing outward towards you while you're working on it. Let's take this and slide it up into position and start in the fitting before we put in the mounting clip. Once you have it started in, you can continue on by pressing this up into the proper position in the bracket and putting in your U-clip. For this clip, you want to make sure you have the ridge facing up. Double check to make sure that line is completely secured and it cannot wobble around at all. Now you can continue on with tightening your fitting. Right there is where it feels as though it bottomed out. We'll just make sure it's nice and snug. Now we can take that flex hose, we'll bring it underneath the ABS wire and align our mounting bracket. Start in your mounting bolt, make it nice and tight. Okay, it's bottomed out. Now we can bring the far end all the way over to the caliper. Over near the caliper, we'll be continuing on with our Banjo bolt. You'll find with your kit, came with 2 brand new crush gaskets. Put one of them directly on the Banjo bolt. We'll take that and put it through the far side. Take your other crush gasket and put it on the other side of the flex hose. At this point, we have one on each side of the flex hose. Take that flex hose and put it in position. Start in the Banjo bolt by hand, snug it up, and then torque it to 25 foot-pounds. Confirm that the flex hose is secured to the caliper. The next thing that we'll want to do is make sure that we clean down this area. That way there we can check for leaks. We'll let this dry and then make our way back to the passenger compartment and remove that brake pedal depressor. Once you've removed that, make your way back out to the caliper bleeder screw. Use your 10mm to open this up and allow the brake fluid to gravity bleed. What I mean by that is we're going to have gravity pull all the fluid down through the brake lines, through the brake flex hose, into the caliper, and then out through this bleeder screw. Once you have a trickle of fluid coming out through here, we'll close this off and proceed with a manual bleed. At this point, we have a steady trickle of fluid. Let's close this off, and we'll have a second person help us with a manual bleed. Now, with the second person inside of the vehicle, we can continue on with our manual bleed. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you check your brake fluid. That's in the master cylinder inside of the engine compartment. Make sure it's topped off with .3 brake fluid. Once you've done that, we're going to have the second person pump up the brake pedal till it's nice and firm, approximately 3 pumps, and hold it in that position. And let us know. Go ahead and pump the brake pedal, please.
Holding.
Now that they're holding it, we're going to open this. This will be under pressure, so the fluid will want to come out forcibly. Now I'll close this off. We'll ask them to pump it again. Go ahead and pump. What we're paying attention to while we have this open is the fluid coming out, and we want to make sure that we do not see any small air bubbles. Now that time looked great. We didn't have any air bubbles coming out of here. I'm going to close this off and we'll ask him to do it one more time. Go ahead and pump.
Holding.
Now, after you've done this a couple times and you're sure that you did not see any air bubbles, even the tiniest one coming out of this bleeder screw, you should be good to go. At this point, the person inside the vehicle can get out of there and we'll clean up our mess. Reinstall your bleeder screw cover. Let's make our way back up under the hood, remove the brake fluid cover, and now we can top off the brake fluid. Looking in this area, you can see that you have a line that comes across. That would be the maximum line. We'll be using .3 or .4 brake fluid to top this off. Once you feel as though you have it at the proper level, reinstall the cap, make sure it's nice and tight so no dirt or debris makes its way into that brake fluid reservoir. All right, friends, we fully installed our front brake hose. At this point, you can go ahead and hop inside the vehicle and take it for a road test, make sure the brakes feel nice and firm. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.